Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining Pro Surf Blog today for some epic surf news. I'm here today with Andrew Case. How you doing today, Andrew?
Oh, it's so good to be with you.
Yeah, right on. Andrew and I, we met in the lineup pretty organically, which I think is probably most people out there. That's how they meet people when they're surfing, right? Well, it's either the parking lot or in the lineup. So uh, Andrew and I were both surfing SanO. I think I was on a mid-length, a seven something. You were on kind of like a seven or eight something, right, Andrew?
Yeah, I was on a 7.0 high performance mid-length egg.
Okay, so you were Andrew's on something. I think I might have been on like a 7.4 or something. So you were on a smaller board than me, and you can't tell on the podcast. Luckily, we look like the same size. But Andrew, you got to be 6'3", six something.
6'6", and I'm like 205 pounds. So the board was a little small for me. It was a gift, and I got it on Craigslist right now. I'm gonna move on from it.
Yeah, you're man. That was like you were shortboarding basically then.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, there's a surfer in the lineup over in Oceanside at the harbor, Taylor Jensen, one of the top longboarders, and he's also a pretty tall guy, and he will make a longboard look like, something more high performancy for sure. Um,
Yeah.
so is that your normal size board, or what's your typical go-to, Andrew?
Yeah, I got a yes, I've always been a mid-length guy.
Mhm.
My surfing were I started off as a logger, like I had a Becker Malibu Super Sport that was 9'6".
Okay.
And then my world changed with Becker. They had this board that was real pretty. It was a red resin tint. It was
Mm.
the Rincon Stinger. It's called 6'8", and
Oh,
it was just
nice.
at a time when everyone had like a standard Kelly Slater shortboard.
Yeah.
It was something that was out of left field, right?
Right. Right.
And that's definitely the best board I've ever had. I've been kind of chasing that high, as
Okay.
some surfers do ever since, their dream board.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of that high performance shortboard choice in my boards, at least early on. And I think
Yeah,
what I kind of skipped past, I guess, is you mentioned Becker. So Andrew's from Orange County, so
yep.
Becker, strong Orange County presence, obviously. And yeah, you're kind of in North Orange County, right? Tustin area, Newport area.
I'm a North Orange County guy. I went to Brea Olinda High School, which is 29 miles away from Huntington or Newport Beach Pier. So
Okay.
the easiest place for me to get to was always Blackie's or Huntington for
Yeah,
sure.
Blackies. That's a popular spot. I mean, especially these days, right?
It's extremely popular, Phil. When the waves are pumping, I think there's like 400 dudes out there,
Wow. I bet.
or something. It feels like it anyway.
Hmm.
Um,
And
Hundreds.
yeah, and because of it, like its location, you tend to have like not only a crowded lineup, but there are like surf lessons going on and events and activities that are kind of sharing that little area.
Yeah, there's everything going on, and it I think it breeds a certain style. The most famous surfer, in my opinion, come from Blackies is Alex Knost, who's
Okay,
still
right,
sponsored, still pro, still paid to travel the world to the best of my knowledge, still rips.
right.
And
Yeah.
you know, as he once Alex Knost is, his style master. He once stated that like his style is just feeding off of that energy. The freeway dumps right into that. There's chaos in the parking lot. There's all
Mhm.
kinds of things going on, and it comes out in his surfing style. And you know, I'm nowhere near as talented or stylish as him, but I resonate with what he says about Blackies. It's almost like going into a war zone. Like I probably shouldn't surf there and find someplace less crowded, but
Mhm.
sometimes it's yeah.
Yeah, you have to kind of be you have to have some good coping skills and things like that to surf a crowded spot, right?
Well, the thing about Blackies when it gets all time, which is during the winter time, like when it's
Mhm.
6 to 8 foot and peaky A-frames, it takes a short period west swell. And the thing is, like, if you're on a bomb and you have 300 dudes and girls screaming at you to go, it's wild. Like what that does to your heart rate and your adrenaline is like nothing else. It's like our average surfer version of pipeline
Right.
on a great pipe swell, if you will. And so when you get a good one in front of all those people, it's pretty rad. The paddle back out and everyone's looking at you like they hate you.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
Well,
sorry guys.
well, how
you know.
about when all that's going on and you blow it? I'm sure you've done that before.
Oh, oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. But you know what? I've blown waves at like all time SanO at Old Man's, and that hurts because you're like, oh, that could have been the best 25 seconds of my life.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Alex Knost, just side note too. Yeah, I see him hanging out, traveling, surfing with Karina Razunko, who's a surfer who's always at SanO as well, since you mentioned SanO again.
Hmm.
Also a stylish surfer, and both of them always putting out some cool, like kind of artsy style posts and things like that. So yeah, so that that sh mid-length almost shortboard I saw you riding last time. What brand was that?
Um, sold under surftech.com
Okay.
website, but
Mhm.
Roger Hines is the shaper that collaborated with Surftech, right? For
Mhm.
those that may be listening that don't know, is Surftech for the last since 1990 or so.
Mhm.
They just collaborate with all these iconic people
Right.
like Donald Takayama and even
Mhm.
Joel Tudor for a time, to license
Mhm.
like three or four of their shapes, and they're mass produced. They're what we call Asian pop outs because they're made in Thailand.
Mhm.
Typically designed in California and shaped in Thailand, sent over on a container ship. So, you know,
Yeah, I don't hear Tudor boasting about surf tech a whole lot.
it's kind of like with Joel Tudor, Style Master. That was kind of like a stain on the shirt. Like with Kelly
Mhm.
Slater and in his couple episodes of Baywatch, that he doesn't like to talk about. you
Right.
know, with Joel, it's just a short time. And
Right.
as he would say, it hurt his factory in San Diego and
Okay.
he was hurting his local guys. And so they put an end to that. So it was a short run.
Yeah. Okay. Well, but I mean, still, yeah, definitely noteworthy.
But,
Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
but
And that was a green board too, right? It had a green
yeah,
brush on there. So I think until you
yeah.
got out of the water and flipped it over or something, or I saw the underside of it. I wouldn't even known it was a surf check because it had kind of almost looked like a custom spray on there.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a 7'10" Channel Islands Waterhog. Also, same thing, Surf Tech, tough flight construction.
Okay.
As my friend would say, they're so strong they would outlive a nuclear apocalypse. And
Nice.
Um, that Channel Islands Waterhog, Channel Islands hates that board. Britt Merrick has got public. He hates that board
Wow.
because it's just they're so performance
Mhm.
is what Channel Islands cares about. That it's like why do we have this fun board in our lineup? But that board is for a lot of people out here that are listening that are like getting into the intermediate stage. The
Mhm.
Channel Islands Waterhog it's like a wave storm. If the
Mhm.
wave storm went to high school, the Waterhog is like a wave storm that went to Harvard.
Okay.
It has real rails, it has a real bottom contour, it has a better outline, and it behaves like for most surfers, it behaves like a Swiss Army knife where it's
Okay.
always the right board, it's never the best.
I like that.
I mean, you can
I
get
mean,
barreled in it, and um, yeah, it's cool board. Some people call that shape a mini Mal, it's just like a baby longboard, sort of pulled in.
it's funny. Kind of like I don't know, attitudes in surfing, both from consumer side as well as like the surfboard manufacturing side or production side. Um, a lot of the brands who were, made their money and made their popularity on short, high performance boards, I mean, the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, you see all of them now putting out this kind of like mid-length, uh, you know, options they have maybe, right? Like in their offering now. I mean, clearly I think the consumer's kind of spoken, right? I think places like
Yeah,
Album and all these other like
yeah,
brands that have come up and they're
yeah,
making, I don't know if they're making a killing, but they're doing well for themselves. They're definitely taking some market share, and people are attesting to the performance or the fun that they're having on the boards, right?
yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting to see even Channel Islands having, some selection of boards that maybe aren't longboardish, but they're definitely in that mid kind of style.
Yeah, the CI mid and the CI tri-plane hull is their single fin option with a
Okay.
really wild bottom on it.
Hmm.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
know,
pretty cool.
Phil, if I may, we spoke the other day.
Mhm.
My best argument is, look, I'm just an average surfer, right? And look, if I was Kelly Slater, these our listeners would know who I am, right?
Right.
But my argument is, I've had this surfing thing has been a blessing.
Hmm.
Um, the surfing thing has changed my life. I'm still as stoked as I was when I was 17.
Hmm.
My body's not, as we know, or my lower
Right.
back is not where I was when I was 17, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just want beginner surfers like at Blackie's or anywhere
Hmm.
around the world, or watching this from Utah.
Hmm.
I just want someone to, if they want to get involved in surfing, I want them to be,
Hmm.
as stoked as I am, and help
Right.
people. I like helping beginners get on the right path.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
I think of learning how to surf like that food pyramid we grew up as a kid. You really gotta you really got to focus on that foundation, that bottom, the widest part.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
in my opinion, that bottom part is a longboard.
Hmm.
Depending on your height and weight, well over 9'6".
Hmm.
If I was teaching someone how to surf in Hawaii, I'd start you off on 11-foot board,
Right.
huge or bigger.
Waikiki style. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
Waikiki
makes a lot of
board. Yeah,
sense. I think because yeah, right. I think what you're probably hitting at is that to feel like you're surfing, you want to be on your feet, right? And so I
yeah,
think you're talking that bottom of that pyramid starts by being on your feet if you're a surfer. Otherwise, you're a bodyboarder or something else. But yeah, so getting on your feet, and that kind of pivots off the last conversation podcast I had with Bucky Berry, and he does longboarding and helps other people longboard. But yeah, that's great advice. I came into it, probably around the same time you did, Andrew, maybe a hair before, but
yeah,
I went straight to shortboarding. I mean, because in my head, that's what I wanted to do. That's what I was seeing at the time, right? Magazines and so forth. And it probably took me 3 to 6 months, no, about 3 months. Probably going like once a week or something at the time because I also grew up a little inland. Um, and it took me about 3 months to actually get to my feet. And when I say get to my feet, it was like for a split 1 or 2 seconds as I was probably falling off to the side. And then maybe 6 months into it, I was probably now on my feet and just trying to hold it together as long as I could. And I took a lot of tumbles. I took a lot of falls, but I I do kind of regret or am now trying to make up for that knowledge that I didn't actually get at the beginning, at the foundation of that pyramid you're talking about. And so I'm literally kind of going the other direction and having a respect and learning things about the wave, surfboard shapes, how to maneuver my body weight on a board like that. So did you start on a longboard? Is that what you did?
yeah. That's a good question, Phil. I started, if we can go way back, I grew up, I'm a transplant to Southern California. I'm from
Okay.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
nowhere super landlocked, may as well have been Kansas or Iowa.
Mhm.
Um, I actually grew up in learning how to surf in a wave pool outside of Pittsburgh. We can find it online. You can Google images called Settler's Cabin. There's some
Settlers
hard to find.
Cabin.
Yeah, there's some
Is
hard to
it
find
still around
images.
or what?
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't think it is. But
Okay.
it was, cement bottom, of course, and it churned out every 3 seconds, like wind swell, it turned out these 2 foot body surfing waves every
Mhm.
so the repetition was incredibly high, like even more so than being at Newport Beach, you could argue, just wave after wave after wave after wave. And I grew up body surfing there with my friends. We would go, our parents would drop us off at this little parking lot, and some bus driver guy would take us there for the
Wow.
day and take us back. It was really rad. And then
So it was like a
two big fam
shuttle. They had a shuttle that
yeah,
went around
yes,
town.
it's through church. Yeah, through church. Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, through
Okay.
church in Wexford, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Where all people know about is, the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? But
Yeah. Dude, for a church to take you to the wave pool, oh my gosh, that is so cool.
yeah. And then 2 big vacations in Hilton Head, South Carolina, and then Myrtle Beach, right? So again, body surfing, 2 to 3 foot waves, in warm bath water. My grandma was in Florida, so yeah. So I had a really extensive body
Mhm.
surfing
Mhm.
knowledge, and I understood the ocean. I
Mhm.
just had to add a board. Now, when I moved to California, back in Pittsburgh, I went to Blockbuster Video on VHS. I rented the Endless Summer 2, which came out in '94.
Yeah.
I rented that by accident because the cover is yellow and red. So it like spoke to me from 40 feet away in Blockbuster Video, like some movie scene. And
Yeah.
I took it home, I pressed play, and my life changed. The Endless Summer 2 changed my life. And especially the Kelly Slater scene in Tavarua, and
Mhm.
just watching, I didn't know anything about Kelly, but watching him just toy with Cloudbreak. It was like a joke to him. It's, double overhead Cloudbreak, and it's like a 1 foot day for him at Cocoa Beach.
Mhm.
Um, and then moving to California, went to Play It Again Sports in Yorba Linda, California, just like you. Got this Kelly Slater style shortboard. In
Okay.
the '90s, shortboards had no volume, if you want to call it, or foam. Um, my
And
friend,
and
my
and were you already 6'6" at that point of your life?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, real lanky, like super, like a malnourished basketball player, like 6'6",
Okay.
160. But my friend had a shortboard too. I mean,
Mhm.
we just wanted to look cool.
Yeah.
So we had these, and that's all we could afford was
Yeah.
these horribly dings everywhere, thousands of dings. Anyway,
Mhm.
my friend and I, we never stood up on our shortboards, not even once on
Mhm.
at Huntington, like Southside, never, not even one wave, and maybe for one fraction of a second, right? So
How dare you as a beginner go to Southside Huntington Beach?
yeah, your stomping grounds. Phil, my life changed again. Like my buddy Brian, he got high school graduation money. And I was so pissed at him, but he went out and he bought a longboard. And I was like, why would you waste your money? I remember telling him, you'll never be able to get to the beach. You don't have a pickup truck. You'll never even be able to get it to the beach.
Mhm.
Anyway, we get it to the beach. And it was, again, like something out of a movie. I grabbed it out of his hand when he was done with it. I paddled out. And because we were so used to those stupid shortboards that were
Mhm.
just worthless
Mhm.
in so many ways,
Mhm.
with the right longboard, I stood up first try.
Wow.
It was like, to me, it felt like I was standing on like a redwood log. It was so easy.
Mhm.
And I rode it right in. I got like a whitewater wave at Huntington for like 20 seconds. And I gave
Yeah.
it back to him. And I'm like, we're buying a board tonight for me. He was like, yeah. So, my argument is like, equipment matters for sure, especially for you. If you're watching this and you're like
Mhm.
a shortboard ripper, that's awesome. Like I love you, like, and you are. I'm not I can't help you at all. It probably goes the other way around.
Mhm.
But if you're struggling to learn on, all those wave storms are 8 foot zero, right? From Costco, they're $130.
Mhm.
My argument, I mean, that's great. I think it's a great board to learn on if you're a little kid who's like 12
Mhm.
and weighs nothing.
Right. Because it.
But if you're like a COVID learner and you're
Mhm.
like this guy who's got, maybe a little extra beer weight or donut weight in your belly, and
Mhm.
I just don't think they're big enough. In Hawaii,
Mhm.
Hawaii would prove it. They're going to start you off on an 11-foot board
Mhm.
and not an 8.0 wave storm. They're just not big. They're just cheap,
Right.
you know.
They're a little
Um,
hard to turn as well. That's my opinion, but uh, so
they are.
so let me ask this. This is kind of a side note. Maybe if you're a beginner out there, you, you may not understand this, and maybe you will. But when you bought the longboard, like, did your clothes change? Did your style change? I mean, or were you still the same person just riding a longboard, or did this affect the rest of your surfing persona?
Oh, that's a good question. We didn't talk about this in the pregame, but that's cool. You know what I did? I went to the Frog House. Shout out to the Frog House. If you guys don't know, it's on the border of Newport Beach and Huntington, right at the river. Um, I think the Frog House is the greatest surf shop in the world, just on vibe alone. It's you never know what's going to happen in there. Um, uh, they're just the best guys. They had a longboard skateboard that I got immediately once I became like a logger type guy, right?
Mhm.
So in Brea, so my parents, my folks lived in Brea, California. It's really it's the northernmost city in Orange County, but it's in hills, and
Mhm.
so hills and high quality pavement. That's like it was basically like the pipeline of longboarding. My
Mhm.
neighborhood was I would walk all up in these hills, and I would just so I would surf in the morning, and then at night I could practice surfing with my a giant skateboard. I mean, this thing I got from the Frog House was obnoxious. It was almost as long as the regular surfboard. No, I'm kidding, but
Did you
it was
wear like
long.
a glove, like a hand glove? Like, no, just
No,
raw.
nothing. Just
Okay.
Vans. No, I wasn't that guy.
Okay.
No pads or anything. No, I wasn't. I wasn't interested in that glove aspect of.
Right.
I wasn't a downhill guy. I just wanted to. I want to practice like just carving front side, back side, and doing that.
Okay.
So that's honestly having a longboard from Sector 9 is my favorite company.
Yeah.
Having a
That's it.
having a longboard in having going to living in a somewhat hilly neighborhood after you're surfing, that helps your surfing like you would not like exponentially. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Although
But no,
I'm a little more apprehensive to get on the skateboard these days at my age, man.
yeah.
I think really I'm afraid that I'm going to hurt myself on the skateboard and then be upset because it's going to keep me out of the water or something like that. You're the second person I talked to. I can't. It's killing me because I can't remember the other guy. He's a surfer and a surf videographer from think up your way too. Might be Costa Mesa or something like that. Can't remember his name. I met him chit chatting with Michael Takayama the other day at SanO.
Mm,
Really nice
mm,
guy, but he also was talking about the Frog House as well. And back when I was living there, the Frog House was kind of like a locals only Newport, like not just locals only, but Newport. And it was kind of like a hard like vibe to cut through as a customer.
yeah.
And yet I'm hearing like the opposite, that it's one of the best surf shops and it's really great and all these people going there. That's cool. That's awesome. I'm super stoked for the Frog House. It's kind of tucked away right there by River Jetties, right?
Yeah. I
Hmm.
think it's the best place for those that are watching, that to get a wetsuit, it's
Okay.
got to be the best place for sure. You can, yeah,
Nice.
yeah, it
Perfect.
just is. Yeah, I'm not going to talk. I can't look. I can't be. I'm not some guy that can tell you can walk in there and get a deal. That's on you. But they've been really kind to me. Where they
Good.
look at the price tag and like, this isn't 280, it's 200. You're like, okay, like sold. Like
Yeah, which is
we're
cool,
good
and I
there.
think everybody should, support their surf shops anyways, even at top sticker price. I mean, we need to keep surfing alive, and people got to make money, but it's awesome to get a little hookups when you get the hookup, right? So that's awesome.
Hey Phil,
So
hey
yeah,
Phil. Last thing about the Frog House, they do have a account with Surf Tech that we already talked about.
okay,
But
yeah.
Surf Tech has a board, the Donald Takayama in the pink is what it's called.
Mhm.
I think that's an amazing starting point for most surfers. I didn't say all surfers, but most, right?
Mhm.
Ditch your wave storm,
Okay.
sell your stupid wave storm on Craigslist for 45 bucks
Mhm.
and go and spend $1,000 on the Donald Takayama in the pink. It's a
Okay.
super stable board. It's got
Mhm.
a skinny tail, so you're going to be able to, if you get your back foot back there, you're going to be able to turn it.
Okay.
Um, Incredibly wide nose, and
You're
you're
right.
Phil. I think I
I've
don't know if
seen
you've
it.
ever heard this, but Phil, in general, you should have a surfboard where if you're going after your wave, 90% of the time you should get it. Yeah, that's how you
I
know you have.
agree.
Yeah.
I
Thank you.
agree. I talk to people even intermediate level surfers that are, you know, capable. They're doing it. They've been doing it. But when they spin and they don't catch, you know, 50% of the waves that they're actually eyeing, that's usually my suggestion to them is, you know, what is your, you know, your closing rate, right? And so you're wasting your energy if you're paddling for waves you're not going to get, and you might be for beginners or people kind of coming up through the ranks, like you said. Sometimes if somebody else is waiting there to get a wave, and you spin, they may not try for that wave, which would be a nice thing, etiquette wise. But then they're going to be sad because they didn't get the wave. I mean, it's just part of the game. It's going to happen, right? Like nobody's perfect, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good point, Andrew.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in the pink is going to increase your closing ratio, is what you're saying on those waves.
Yeah. I mean, I, I was a longboarder for so long until I was at Northside Huntington once, and it was easily 2 foot overhead. And I'm riding like a SanO nose rider. And I was like, wow, like, and it's the only board I had in my quiver because Phil, when we were younger, we just, we only had maybe enough money for one board, right? And that's how I
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
And I was like, it's like, what do I got to do? I got to move on. And that's when that single fin or red Becker, that came around that was 6'8" with tons of foam everywhere, thick, 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 you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I want people to. That's just what I want, and I'm not the end all be all. I want people to longboard and get that until they're just bored with it, and then move on and go down 6 inches from there. Like if you're riding a 9.6, then get a baby longboard, like I call 9 foot. I call 9.0 boards baby longboards because that's
Okay.
as small as the longboard gets is 9.0. If you
Yeah,
ask me.
I'm going to ask you for another tip in a second here, but
Sure.
before I do that, because you mentioned longboarding at the Huntington Pier, I have to take my hats off because the people who longboard at Huntington Pier, especially like you said, on a day that's overhead plus,
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have some pretty good skills to manage all that because there's all this shortboarding going on. There's the waves moving
Yeah.
fast. There's closeouts in the mix. There's, you know, 9 times out of 10 a current pulling you one direction or the other. And the longboarders I've seen in Huntington on big days, man, I have full respect. I can't even do that. I don't have the skills to manage a board that big on a big day at the Huntington Pier. I don't. I maybe one day I will, but shortboard, no problem. So so we've been talking a little bit about board size, board selections, learning. We talked a little bit about location, kind of just in our own stories here. If you're learning, I don't know, let's say you're getting to your feet. Let's say you can go down the line a little bit, right? Where should you be surfing at? I mean, you know, it's kind of that balance, right? Of like, we all know where the good waves are at. Um, and yet we're, you're trying to always, it's that thing, like you're trying to get better. So you need the good waves, but then, so how do you navigate that period of your learning?
Yeah, great question. I would counter argue with you. I don't know if a lot of guys know where the good surf is, right?
Okay.
Um, as much as I love Newport Beach, I don't want to disrespect anyone and cause trouble here. But I
Okay.
will tell you that the city of San Clemente is better than Newport Beach probably 95% of the time, maybe.
Well,
So if
I think you just earned some enemies in San Clemente right now. But go ahead.
any of those guys watching in San Clemente that are talented, they're still going to get the set waves. They're not going to
Right.
some rookie showing up that learned to surf.
Yeah.
I don't, yeah, but
Yeah.
oh, I'm Phil. I'm good at causing enemies. The thing with San Clemente is the reason I love it so much. And by the way, my best friends, Josh and Ryan and their wives, they live there. So
Okay.
and they have for the
Nice.
past 10 years. So I've spent a lot of weekends there.
Yeah.
I have a lot of knowledge of San Clemente. The thing is, there's rocks on the bottom, so just
Mhm.
like Hawaii, there's well, Hawaii's lava, but same thing. There's a structure on the bottom that doesn't move,
Mhm.
right? So typically, that's gonna mean that's gonna to just create a better, longer ride. Like at Blackie's, I was thinking last night at Blackie's, maybe the best wave I ever saw. A guy
Mhm.
was riding for 8 seconds if you counted real slow,
Right,
and then
right.
at Old Man's, for example, at SanO in front of the lifeguard tower there,
Mhm.
um, you can be looking at 20 seconds. Same with Malibu Pier without even trying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think
But
once you
you,
get once you get past the, like you said, that the bottom floor situation, because what that's going to
yeah,
mean for people that are, I mean, maybe people are deterred when they're learning because you step on those rocks and they hurt, right? Especially
yeah, they do.
tender feet that aren't used to it. I think after a while you can build up some calluses and you learn how to balance a little bit on them. But you're probably going to get some cuts on your feet, maybe your ankles,
Yeah.
maybe elsewhere as well if you have a bad fall or something. Um, uh, Before you go on there, liquid Band-Aid. Oh my gosh, that is a game changer for me. Because sometimes if you go out, you cut your foot, especially if it's right away in your session, if it's a bad enough gash, you're out. You're just, your day is done. You're kind of sad because you still have all your energy. You're ready to do it, but you can't because we all depend on our feet so much. So I've picked up liquid Band-Aid. That's not really, I don't know if that's the brand. There's a bunch of different brands like Amazon or something. And it's a little glass bottle that big, has like a little brush you would like paint your nails with.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you pull that out, you put it on your cut, and I've had some of these cuts I'm talking about where it would have ended my day.
Yeah.
I'm out there surfing again, and it doesn't even feel like there's a problem. So it's got like an antiseptic or something in there, but it seals the cut, and
Yeah.
that stuff works amazing. So I highly recommend it if you're anybody, even if you're advanced, but if you're new, get a bottle of that stuff. It's like $7, $10, probably get it like at the CVS drugstore or something. I think on my Amazon shop, there's probably some in some category you have to fish for it, but I have some of that stuff in my bag. I've not only used it for myself, but I've saved other people from ending their day with that stuff, and I'll just give it to them a lot of times, and it's a really nice thing to do. But yeah, so they make their way. San Clemente, you are right. San Clemente is an awesome place. I would argue starting in San Clemente, going all the way down to the Mexican border. I mean, there's a bunch of San Diego County has got a bunch of other spots as well.
Yeah, San Diego, especially during the winter time, is from Halloween till February 1st is a great place too. I love the quality of. I'm not going to ruin any spots in San Diego or anything, but I yeah, I love that. There's a beginner spot in San Diego called Tourmaline. That's household knowledge, right?
Mhm.
And free
Yeah.
parking lot and showers and bathrooms and water and whatever. But
Mhm.
walk 5 feet and you're in the water.
Yeah.
But the you know I like San Diego and San Clemente has just that. I don't know what I call that shape of wave, like that, just a mellow side profile. You know, you
Mhm.
when you're a beginner or intermediate, you want to avoid anything that has a side profile of chopu or pipeline for sure. Anything kind of steep,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
oftentimes in San Diego, you have these giant cheese wedge type waves that are just
Mhm.
so user friendly.
Yeah, I think part of it is now that I kind of living down this way. Huntington, Newport. I mean, Newport kind of starts to change a little bit, obviously, but if you look like at the satellite images or a map of it, it's just a straight line, and the swells come just right on. There's kind of this sand bottom that goes far out. There's not a whole lot stopping weather as it comes to the shore. So I think as you start going south more, you get these curvatures in the shorelines, you get more kind of rocks from the bluffs that fall down that kind of help the bottom of the floor. You got kelp and things like that a lot of times growing outside the break or in the breaks, and all that kind of helps, I think, the waves to just be a little more
Yeah.
friendly. I think since we are talking about SanO, SanO is also not a big secret, right? Everybody knows about it.
Yeah,
But I do notice that people come there. I've there's a couple spots there that are a little more dangerous than others, and I've saved a few people probably every year, a few different people, and they're usually beginners. They don't know. They try to go to a part of the beach where they think it's probably friendlier, where there's less people, but it could be more dangerous. So if you're going to SanO and you're just starting, maybe you've already been there, but you really haven't, like, you don't really understand the different names of where you're at. If you go all the way to the end of that road, there's a section called DogPatch, and
yeah,
that you would pass Old Man's Proper, and
yeah,
I strongly recommend DogPatch. It is very rocky, so like you
yeah,
said, that is something to deal with, but I think once you get out onto your board into the water, you're going to have a much friendlier situation,
yeah,
less people. All the people that are at SanO who maybe are at those next levels in their surfing progression
yeah,
may not be there, or if they're there, they're anticipating beginners there, so they're working with
yeah.
it probably. So a lot of families down there too. So yeah, it's a great part of the beach in general just to hang out for everybody. But yeah, I would definitely recommend Dog
Hey
Patch.
Phil, can we talk about on that SanO? Can we talk about etiquette for a second?
Sure.
I
Yeah.
feel like that's I feel like that's a lost art with this new generation of surfers,
Sure.
and I had to learn. I was this guy in high school, and I had to learn from 40-year-old dudes that were gnarly as all get out at Blackies, screaming at me, and I'd be like, I don't. What did I do, dude? Tell me, and I won't do it
Right.
again.
Right.
And they would be like, all right. Oh, I'm like, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
I was just at surfing Old Man's. I go
Mhm.
left on every single wave.
Okay.
It's possible to paddle out at SanO without getting in anyone's way. One of the rules of etiquette is you're supposed to paddle wide. And yes, you have to swim longer. I don't care. You know,
Yeah.
if and also on my little high horse here at
Yeah.
SanO,
Yeah.
if you're at Old Man's, you have so much time. No
Yeah.
one should be colliding with anyone there.
Right.
If you're at a skill level where you're at a high risk of colliding with someone, I
Mhm.
think the dog patch is best for you,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Right. Right.
come on. I mean, it's the easiest wave, even when it's head high. You shouldn't, and you literally have 10 seconds to see someone out of the corner of your eye.
Mhm.
You should be able to get around them
Yeah. Yeah.
safely.
Exactly. Yeah. I've definitely SanO. I try to. It kind of comes with the territory because of the kind of the friendliness of the beach in general, right? Like even on the beach, the vibes are great. It's very inviting. And yet, of course, seasoned surfers are going to really appreciate respect for etiquette. Um, Sometimes seasoned surfers don't have great etiquette either. I got to admit, I've been
Yeah,
harshed out by a few people that were um, feeling entitled to every wave as well. That probably happens every year for me. Like you said for yourself, maybe I might get under some people's skin as well sometimes when I'm out there. But yes, I mean, I definitely
yeah,
I know the rules, and
yeah. I mean, we all break rules. I break the rules all the time. I grew up. You're not supposed to ditch your board. I've seen Kelly Slater ditch his board. I
Mhm.
ditch my board. Especially as I've gotten older. I'm like, I don't want to. I ride such high volume boards. They don't like to. I'm always jealous of these guys that are riding 5'10" Channel Islands shortboards. Like, I'm like, you can actually duck dive. Like, do you have any idea, like, when you have a board that's 55 liters, how hard that is to get under the water when it's breaking right on your head?
Yeah,
Hey, Phil,
there's a good nuance there. Oh, go ahead.
uh, is the construction noise in the background? You can edit it. You want me to? Is that
No,
bothering you?
no, it's
All
not
right,
coming through at all.
good.
But there's a nuance to that, and you bring up a good point. So, because if you're a beginner, you might not notice, right? Like, so you might be standing on the beach and you're a novice or beginner, and you see some guy ditch his board, and you're like, okay, well, people are ditching their board. That's fine. And I
Yeah,
think there's something even for myself. What I try to do, we're talking about etiquette, because it's etiquette can help with safety, right? So if I'm paddling out and there's a bone crushing wave breaking right in front of me where I can't get around it, it's gonna happen. And maybe it's too big or big enough where I think ditching my board might be an option. What you may not notice, or maybe you will notice, is that like, so as I'm paddling, I see it happening. I might give a quick look over my shoulder to see if there's somebody right behind me, paddle
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
following me, right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
there is, I will try my hardest to hold on to
Yeah.
my board, right?
You have,
Because
yeah. Yeah.
you got to think, right? You have your leash size, which even if you're on a shortboard, that's 6 foot. If you're on a longboard, that's 9 foot or whatever it is. Now you got a 9 foot board. You literally have 20 feet of danger that you're letting go of. So if that
Yeah.
person is 5 or 10 feet behind you, you could be putting them extreme danger because you got to remember their head is first and your
Yeah.
board is going to go back at
Yeah.
head, right? And you don't want to kill somebody
Yeah.
or permanently injure somebody. You're not going to feel good about that. Um,
No.
and they're not
No.
going to feel good about it. And even if nothing happens, that angry old person's going to be down your throat, right? He's going to be
Yeah.
screaming at you. So I would say that ditching your board is acceptable. If there's somebody behind you, try your best to hold on to that board. Or here's the other thing I think what happens is that, there's a whiteboards feature on here, which I should be using, but let's say, you're like this, right? There's two people going out and the wave's breaking this way here, and the person's a little behind you here, and you're both kind of going like this. Sometimes the person in the front will do this, start paddling in front and lining up with the person behind them. Don't do that because then now, you're probably going to go there. I mean, if you can stagger, right? Like if you're the person in the back, you definitely don't want to be following right behind somebody when there's big waves coming in. You probably want to maybe stagger to the side a little bit,
Yeah.
and which way the
Yeah.
water's pushing this way or that way. You want to be on the safer side of that push.
Yeah.
So yeah, ditching your board. That's it. And you brought up Kelly Slater. One of some people will understand this. One of the most annoying things for me to watch is in professional surfing. You'll
Sure.
see there's two guys out at lowers. Like you said, lowers has a channel. You can punch through lowers even if you don't go through the channel because the waves are fairly friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And what people won't notice is that you'll see somebody taking off on a wave after like one person caught a wave, they're coming back out. The next person, a set's coming,
Yeah.
they catch the wave, and there's literally the other guy is right in their way as they're taking off. And
Yeah.
that's technically a paddling interference.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no reason when there's two people in the water with a channel and this friendly surf
Yeah.
break, why the other person, especially if you're a professional, I mean, I don't know how WSL allows that to happen at all. They should be 10
Yeah.
or 20 feet. They should be nowhere near that person. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to shake, mentally shake the person who's taken off on the wave and sidetrack them, right? And
Yeah.
so
Chandelier.
yeah, right, or crunch the lip of the wave, even depending on where they're at, or really try to not allow them to make that bottom turn. They're trying to be in the way down there as well. So they're doing it on purpose, right? And so
Yeah.
in
Sure.
real life, definitely you shouldn't be doing it on purpose. You should be going the other way. And um, if it's too late to go the other way, the hardest advice I'm going to give you that nobody wants to take is you should paddle to where it's breaking worse and take it on the head so that person can kind of get a clean drop in. One,
Yeah.
you'll make their wave funner, but you also will avoid a collision, maybe a ruined surfboard or a broken bone or something like that. Um, okay, well, I think we shared it all. Did we get all the rules out there for everybody? Don't mess around. No.
Yeah, there's a lot of, people can always be studying. My favorite surf movie to learn from is called One California Day. It's really tricky to find. You basically
Okay.
have to buy it.
Okay.
It's from 2007. I think it's a work of art. There's a lot of different boards in there. Every type of board really, and all kinds of different styles. And it's not just about one day in California. It's far more than that. But
That's a
yeah,
cool. Maybe can you send me that
buy
link
one
after
California
this?
day and learn from it. Hmm?
Yeah, can you send if you have a link or any kind of artwork from that? Can you send that to me? I might put it in the description on this video so people can check that out.
You
I'm
got it.
not I'm not sure I've seen it. So yeah, that's pretty good. Thanks a lot for that one. So last time I was talking to you, you were getting a board shaped uh, from Michael Miller, and I'm gonna share that that account there so everybody can see. This is an Instagram page for Michael Miller, San Diego shaper. What kind of like drew you to this shaper, and yeah, tell us a little bit about him.
This is just my opinion, but I think the best surfboards in the whole world come from San Diego. I think there's so much history. There's a huge link between San Diego and Hawaii that goes back to at least 1960 at a minimum. And I think that San Diego guys are I think their boards and the glass jobs and the way certain guys do their rails is just so much more beautiful than a lot of people. And I think when you're buying a board from my friend Michael Miller, you're buying a like a high quality Van Gogh piece of art that after it's all dinged up 10 years from now or 15 years from now, it's still gonna look super pretty, in your living room on the rack, right?
Yeah.
But so one thing that I found out about Michael Miller from a YouTube video from a surf shop in Brooklyn, New York called Pilgrim,
Okay.
and where
Yeah.
where they argue that every surfer should have a Michael Miller egg, and I think so too.
Okay.
Michael was trained Michael was trained by Skip Frye. Skip Frye is definitely top one or two or three shapers best known on the whole planet, right? And
Right.
Skip's been shaping boards since at least 1968 that I know. I'm not a historian,
Yeah.
but
He's recently retired too, so I'm not even sure you can really get another Skip Fry shaped for you, by the way. I think so. I might be mistaken, but I think in the last couple of years, I think he has stepped
yeah,
away from it.
yeah. The rule of thumb was you always had to wait like 2.5 years. So like, what does that say? it's
Right.
like um, it's like the same waiting period for Jerry Lopez, right?
Hmm.
Which says something. But Skip a few years back, 15 years ago, took under his wing Josh Hall and
Okay.
Michael Miller, two San Diego guys that are roughly right now that I think they're both in their 40s, just like myself. Um, I just love them. These San Diego guys have a certain, and Christensen as well. They have
Yeah.
the rails, these foiled out pinched rails that are just so beautiful in the hand, right? So
Yeah.
I ordered a 7'4" single fin egg.
Okay. So what I want to do is I'm going to share another image here.
Yeah, there it is.
Uh, Michael Miller, and this is the kind of board you're getting from Michael Miller.
That's it. No, that's mine. That's it.
That's yours. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
amazing looking board.
yeah,
And I agree with you on the San Diego Shapers, the history. I mean, from every kind of surfing, including big wave surfing, which a lot of people don't really understand that connection with Hawaii there. But
yeah.
yeah, that's a beautiful board. And you were mentioning a couple others. I'm going to play this clip here as well, which is an interview from Surf Splendor, a little snippet with Christensen. Okay, so I'm going to play that. Did you hear that volume okay there?
Maybe it could be louder.
Maybe it could be okay, let's turn that out. Let's see if it goes louder. I don't know. Let's find out. I don't know if you guys got
Yeah,
that.
yeah. That's what Christensen was saying right there in the white T-shirt was that there's two guys that he respects that are best in the world, shaping and glassing from start to finish, which is an LA guy, Tyler Hazikian, and
Mhm.
Michael Miller from San Diego.
Yeah, and Christensen is definitely one of the hottest shapers out there right now, and people are also paying pretty good dollar and
Oh
waiting
yeah,
waiting time for that those types of boards as well.
yeah. he can get 1800 all day
Yeah,
at
and so he took the time on that podcast to throw out Michael Miller's name there as somebody who he thinks is, and he's not just saying shaper, right? I think what he's distinguishing here is start to finish, right? So
yep.
they're doing every step of the process, and I'm sure they have people helping them, and they might do different things. But if you're probably getting, a specific board from Michael Miller and you want it to be start to finish, that's what you're talking about there. That is going to be a work of art in every aspect.
Yeah, I think the price is right too. I was, the my board was not. I won't tell you what I paid, but the base price in just white clear and sanded finish was just under $1,000 to
Yeah,
start at.
yeah,
And with every surfboard, there's all kinds of bells and whistles, like pin lines and multiple colors and gloss and tail blocks. All those things add so much money.
yeah. And
Extra pin
I
boxes.
haven't had a white surfboard in a very long time because I've decided that, like, if I'm going to get the board I want and I want it to last and I don't want it to get yellow and all these other things, I
Yeah,
always put color on my boards now. It does cost more money, but you're gonna have,
yeah,
I mean, ideally, you're gonna have this board for a long time. So if you're
yeah,
gonna have a board for a long time, you want it to retain its beauty and you want it to be unique, right? So you talk about beginner tips and things like that. So when we were younger, most boards were white, most
yep,
wetsuits were black, right?
yep,
So your girlfriend on the beach or your family on the beach was not going to be able to find you out there in a crowded lineup. One, in the lineup, people taking off as you're watching people surf. It's really like, you can kind of take note of who's catching a lot of waves sometimes, but it's really hard to kind of tell who's doing what. What I've noticed is when I've moved over to color boards and sometimes colors on the wetsuits, people remember you taking off on waves more, is what I find, and that can work for you, maybe against you as well. But
yeah,
when people go, okay, that guy's catching waves, that guy's catching waves, or they see you coming, so maybe they're not going to be in your way or do something dangerous in front of you. Color is a great thing.
color's a great thing. I couldn't agree with you more. Clear boards, it looks after a while, it looks like your dog peed on it. It's like
You're right.
I don't want to, I don't want urine yellow board.
Yeah.
And also, those boards have no value on Craigslist, if you ask me. I mean, the yellowed board that they're just used up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
Yeah, of we talk about San Clemente. There's used surf down there. They sell used boards. You can find them there. Leucadia's got Progression Surf. They got usually some boards in there. Up in North County, is there a spot for used boards that people go to? Popular or anything?
not that not that I recommend. When I was in high school, like the end all be all, the holy grail was Harbor in Seal Beach. Going in there is like I can't even believe I'm even in here, and um I, Harbor, I don't think they're that company anymore. I think that company now is Bing from North County, San Diego.
Yep.
Is I couldn't say enough good things about
Yeah.
Bing, especially for the listeners of this podcast. If you go to Bing's store and talk to those salesmen who know 100 times more than I ever would, they're gonna they're gonna set you on the right path. Like, hey, I want whatever longboarder. I'm looking for a single fin. You know,
Yeah. If you have $1 million and you want to get a really nice board, brand new board, you can go to what is it? Icons of Surf, Icons of Foam in San
yeah,
Clemente. Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
I love those guys. Icons,
They're
yeah,
amazing.
icons of surf.
Yeah, they have the most beautiful boards. I mean, yeah, I luckily I don't always have that kind of money, so I can't spend all my money when I'm there because I can't even afford some of that stuff. But it's beautiful stuff. I enjoy going in there. It's like a museum kind of, and you can like you can see all these top shapers and see. I mean, it's a good place to go visit because you can, even if you can't afford those boards,
Yeah,
it takes a long time to figure out what boards are popular and why they're popular, right? So if you go to a
yeah,
place like Icons, you can see pretty much top-notch shapers, amazing shapes, a variety of shapes, and then all the accessories that go with them. and they obviously have knowledgeable staff there to be selling that kind of equipment.
Those
So
guys are super intelligent and they're the kindest ever. They really are.
yeah.
Yeah, Icon. My friend Ryan turned me on to icons. I don't think I'd really know about it
Mhm.
otherwise, but
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
they even have like a loaning program, like a rental, where if you show some interest in whatever Takayama model that's on there, like they might have like a white one that's a little bit dinged up in the back with crappy wax on it, and they're like, yeah, just go take it out. They've done that with me, and I brought it back, and I'm like, ooh, it wasn't for me. I'm like, thanks so much. I was gonna drop, 1,400 bucks on something in it, and I just didn't like it, but you know,
Yeah.
awesome for those guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think those rentals and board demo days, and that's another good way because I've definitely got a lot of boards shaped that didn't work for me, and I thought they would, or because they were working for
yeah,
somebody else.
yeah,
And so some of these shapes are person specific too, right? So just because somebody's a top-notch shaper and the board's $2,000, it doesn't mean that it's going to work for you, right? Just because of your style or your body size or what, who knows what it is. But
yeah,
so yeah, definitely trying boards out. I've swapped boards a lot of times with people at the beach. So when someone offers you that,
yeah,
a lot of times your instinct is to say no. I've turned it down a lot of times because I'm like, you're on the board, the waves are fun, you're on your board that you know works for you, and so you don't want to give up any time on that in that situation. But if the waves are good and someone is willing to swap boards with you, sometimes it's worth a shot because I've fallen in love with some boards that I would never have bought off the shelf because I would
yeah.
just assumed they didn't work for me. And I've been surprised quite a few times. Or like you said, I got on a board and I was like, I can't surf this thing, right? So yeah, it's a good thing to do. Um, I want to hit on something here. So we talked about, growing up a little inland, where you're at now, where you're surfing now, but you also have spent quite a bit of time in Alaska. Um, and have you surfed up there?
Yeah. So although I'm a California resident, I have a California driver's license, but I've worked in tourism industry in Alaska for 14 successful summers.
Okay.
And just like fishing, it's just like, what I have is I have a commercial driver's license, so I can drive luxury tour buses. And we
Hmm.
talk, I have like a little microphone, like a little headset from McDonald's microphone, and teach people on why bears aren't as big as you might think they are, and why why whatever gold
Hmm.
history, Captain Cook,
Okay.
whatever it is.
Okay.
But yeah, I drive baby boomers typically with a bunch of money on
Hmm.
7 day road trips, right? 2 nights here, one night here, 2 nights here, call it, quits. But just like the fishing industry in Alaska, I think there's a connection between Southern California and Alaska through fishing. Is
Okay.
it's fast and furious. It's working in Alaska is like working. It's like that money machine from that game show when we were kids, where you're in that little booth and the money's everywhere, and you're
Mm.
just trying to grab it and like hold on to it, and it before the time runs out. And I'm asked to work almost every for surfers listening that are struggling with work. It might be for you, but I'm asked to work almost every single day, and
Okay.
it's gnarly. 8 hours would be a short day. 10 hours.
Okay.
So there's a lot of overtime, and it's
Mhm.
super. It's a grind, but when you're done, your bank account on October 1st is as big as it's going to be, and you're like, hey, I'm done. I'm going surfing in Costa Rica. I'm going to Bali. Peace out, right?
Yeah.
So
So,
um,
and the days are long, like in Alaska, right? Like the sun is out for a
yeah,
long period of time.
it's pretty cool, especially like June, the midnight on June 20 would be the peak of the summer solstice. So yeah, much same as Southern California. The days are long, but it's just way. I mean, you can read a book in Alaska at midnight. In June, you can read a book at midnight without a flashlight. No, I mean,
Hmm.
it
Wow.
may as well look like it's noon. It's pretty wild.
Okay.
It's just because of how north it is, how close it is to the North Pole. That's all there is to it.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's a really fun thing. And then right now, they're heading into the worst of that, which would be around a couple days before Christmas will be as dark as it gets.
Okay.
But yeah, as far as surfing, you know, Mick Fanning has gone surfing in Alaska at the same place I have. Mason Ho from San Clemente, Griff, the Colapinto guys, and I believe a couple other people. So yeah, in Seward, Alaska, there's a wave that's about 18 miles away. You got to take a boat out there. There's no road. There's no hiking trail. You got to take a boat. It's about a 45-minute boat ride, which is really fun times. When I did it, I only went surfing once. There was like 12 of us, and there was a girl from Costa Rica, and she said the funniest thing. She said, "Look, guys, I got tons of cold water surf experience." We're like, "Oh yeah, where from?" And she said, "San Diego."
Oh.
And it was like, and she got her butt handed to her. She looked at me at one time and like, was like, oh, like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I mean, Phil, the water was 41 or 42 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow.
So you're wearing a 654 rental, hooded, gloves, booties.
It's like like a slushy kind of. I mean, it's barely, the water's probably very thick feeling. I mean, does it feel any different? Like,
no, it didn't feel it. It's open ocean. If anything, it looked different. It was like a fluorescent green from glacier. If anyone has seen the water anywhere in the world, like Norway or Alaska, where it's you're surfing right in front of a glacier called Bear Glacier.
okay.
There's actually a grizzly bear on the beach that day. I didn't see it, but some other beginners had to deal with it. And gnarly locals losing your board. But it was light offshore. The waves were head high to 1 foot overhead. It was flawless wave conditions. And
so when you say you took a boat ride there, is it a boat ride because it's an island, or that it's just too hard to get to by land, so you have to kind of get around to it? What is it?
yeah, so Seward, Alaska is it's called a glacial fjord, right? If going back, so this Seward, Alaska is beautiful, surrounded by these 5,000 foot tall peaks everywhere, and so you just got to get through the fjord. And the boat ride out there, Phil, you're in water that's 800 feet deep or 1,000 feet deep, no joke.
Wow.
And then the surf spot is there because a glacier just left this beach behind, and the fjord actually stops. So you're actually exposed a little bit. You're exposed to the open Gulf of Alaska or the open Pacific Ocean, and the waves from the open Gulf that churn. Maybe they come off of storms from Japan or whatever, are able to march their way up in this skinny little area, and it aims right at this little beach that a glacier left behind. But
so it's very focused. Then that swell comes right through there, kind of like maybe I don't know if you've been to Pavonis, but it kind of has that kind of U shape, and the swells have to swing right in there. Is it kind of like that, or?
You know what it was a lot like in Costa Rica is almost identical to Witch's Rock.
Okay.
In Witch's Rock, if anyone's ever been there, the wave just kind of comes out of nowhere, jumps up, and it's like, oh my God, there's a wave, and like it's just like it's like a lottery system. You're just like, oh, you happen to be there and you go, right? That's what I've seen at Witch's Rock. And this wave it comes from such deep water, and it just boom, it just lurches up, and you're like, oh, it's time to go. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think at Witch's Rock, sometimes you can get like that, I don't know, like 2 minute warning or something, because you'll see like the water rise up against that rock a little bit, but it's still a little bit of a guess game as to when it's going to pop up in front of you.
Real quick, I've never been more scared in my life. Like duck diving was just insane. It was like someone took a football helmet full of ice cream and just mushed it on your head for a while. And I'd always be so scared whenever I get a wave. My brain was telling me to just get back to the safety of the pack. There's 10 of us, right? Got to get back to the pack, and I would paddle really hard. Like, I don't want to be by myself. It was just something about being that cold was just so scary.
I agree. Just surfing in like Monterey, man, I felt kind of that scared feeling too. And I mean, maybe because it's so cold, your body already wants to shiver. I don't know. So and maybe those things kind of go together a little bit. Your mental game. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. So you rented your suit. You didn't buy a suit that you lugged up there.
Yeah, I rented everything from a guy. To the best of my knowledge, he's all done. His name is Scott, Captain Scott Liska. He's got this beautiful pad. God bless him. He's in Mexico now. He's retired.
Cool.
He would he cared he would make his money off of like wealthy salmon fishermen, but before before the salmon aren't always in Alaska. They just come during a certain period of time. So before and after the salmon, he would take care of the surfers. He I was always told he wanted to hang out the surfers more, but he liked the money from the he had an AR-15 up in the wheelhouse, and I
Yeah.
said, "What's the AR for?" And he said, "Pirates or grizzly bears,
Yeah,
whichever comes
pirates.
first,
Yeah.
whichever comes
Well,
first."
it's good to know that like surfers are a little more fun to hang out than with salmon. I mean,
Oh yeah, or no, it's the wealthy fishermen,
oh,
the
okay.
yeah, the oil.
Okay. I'm like, man. Uh, no, that's super awesome.
You
Um,
know,
oh, go ahead.
Phil, I think that's my argument. That my big focus is I want people to get on the right equipment, get the right knowledge. Learn. Watch the Style Master Joel Tudor or Dave Rostovich or Alex Knost or Rob Machado or Kelly Slater. These guys are style icons. I
Yeah.
come from the school where style is all that matters.
Mhm.
So and the and so get on the right equipment. Learn the etiquette. Um,
Mhm.
Buy One California Day or some movie like that, and watch YouTube, learn at night,
Mhm.
and I want people to to be able to get the best wave of their life in Alaska or Costa Rica or
Mhm.
Nicaragua or Mexico or wherever it is.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
You
That's
know,
awesome. I really appreciate this experience, Andrew. It was fun surfing as well. Of course, that's
yeah,
the
yeah,
heart
nice meeting
of
you.
what we do. So I hope to surf with you again soon.
Yeah,
Um, to wrap this up, what I'd like to do is give you an opportunity to throw shout outs to maybe some surfers that have amazing vibes or people that you know in the industry or in surfing that have made an impact on you in a positive way.
yeah, I'm excited for my new board from Michael Miller. He's made a positive impact on me. The Frog House guys have been super kind to me. They're always so good at hooking up beginners with wax and wetsuits and other things and boards as well.
Nice.
Um, I have one of my best friends. His name is Ryan. He's pushed me. Thank goodness I'm goofy and he's regular, or else some situations might have happened. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've split so many A-frames, and my friend Josh, and so many good times with those guys, and they've invited me to Costa Rica with them. They've invited me to stay in Baja, Mexico with them, and
Nice.
we've scored. Um, who else? Yeah. Um, I don't know. I what else to
No, that's
say
hey,
there?
that's great right there. I mean, that's I think, you kind of summed all this up, right? Like great people that make you feel good about what you're doing, that you can travel with as well and have adventures with. That's a really good thing to have. So, and I think that's part of this whole journey we're talking about is, finding the right people that, like you said, if you're goofy, find a regular footer, maybe. I don't know. But, find people that really make the time enjoyable and make it a fun experience and are maybe themselves obviously spreading the good vibes and good information in surfing. So yeah, thanks again, Andrew. It's so awesome. I appreciate you coming on and being a guest and sharing your experiences and your knowledge in surfing. I learned a lot today from you as well, so I appreciate that. Everybody else, thanks a lot for joining in and taking the time. And I hope
Yeah,
you got something out of this as well and learned about some new shapers and information. Spread the good vibes. If you can, check out some recent podcasts that I've had out there. There's Bucky Berry. He does some volunteer stuff in
hmm
surfing for special needs events, Surfers Healing. There's a handful of other surfers that I've had on here, a lot of just regular people out there doing their thing. You will see some edits of people surfing. Occasionally, I'll take the camera to the beach and get other people doing their thing, everybody of all skill levels, so you can see what everybody's doing out there in the world and yeah, spreading the good vibe. So thanks a lot again, everybody. Really, really, really appreciate you guys' time and support. Like always, you guys have a beautiful day, and I hope you